Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
And BlueDragonFive.
and welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points of filmmaking. All right, BlueDragonFive, we are here to break down and discuss a fairly controversial movie. Like, one of the most controversial news stories to come out of Comic-Con this year revolved around this movie. We'll break that all down in the commentary itself, but we're talking The Killing Joke, and The Killing Joke, of course, is one of, if not the most anticipated release that DC animated productions has ever put out. Of course, a very, very highly anticipated adaptation of the Alan Moore short-form graphic novel, one of the most famous Batman Joker stories. Dragon, what do you got for the background on this thing?
So let me break down the background like so, folks. Quick cliff notes of what the whole deal with The Killing Joke book and movie is. 1988, we get a best-selling story by Alan Moore and Brian Bowen. Brian Bowen, excellent artist, as you can see by the thing that's in front of you right now. Basically, what the story did, it shed light on Joker's origins and his madness. It examined the Batman-Joker dynamic in a really interesting way, and it put Barbara Gordon in the wheelchair. She took her from Batgirl to Oracle. So it was a very influential story to Batman. Of course, without this story, we don't have the tone. We don't have the tone of Batman '89. We don't have a lot of the great stuff in The Dark Knight. And again, this was kind of the model for the best of Joker stories. So this book had a lot of impact, and that's why it was so important. And being that, people have a lot of reverence for it, a lot of love for it, and so it's people want to see an animated movie of it, or at least a movie of it in some context. And don't get me wrong, while I have thematic stuff in The Dark Knight, still not brought off the page in some way. So aside from your classic motion comic, which you believe there's a lot of versions of that out there, getting an animation was a hurdle in itself, folks. It's been in development in DC's original animated film line for years, and there basically were 3 attempts, and they go quite simply like this. In 2009 is where the thing first got off the ground. Phil Barraza, if I'm saying his name correctly, he actually did. We got to see some designs of what his Joker looked like, his Brian Bowen Joker looked like. And it looked amazing, by the way. This guy was a really good artist. Unfortunately, he didn't really stick with the current iteration of the film, but we'll get into that during the commentary. Point is, he was working on the movie for 2 weeks, but unfortunately, this is around the time of Watchmen, which is DC's first attempt at a rated R film.
Right, right.
And because Watchmen underperformed, they lost their confidence in doing an animated R-rated animated film for their DC original video line, so it got shelved. 2012, unfortunately, that was kind of timed. They got scared off because of the whole Colorado incident. Really, that's why they.
I could see that. Honestly, because that Colorado incident was tied directly into Batman, right?
Yet it didn't really hinder Dark Knight Returns Part 2 from coming out. And that really, I would think, of anything, would have been the worst for it. Then again, that was after the event itself, so I guess that's
I would assume Dark Knight Part 2 was already in the can, ready to go before that.
And I think it was a few months to a year after, so that's probably why.
Sure.
Anyway, so the point is that was kind of hindered that, but it was in the works. Then 2015, last year, thanks to Mark Hamill's quasi-retirement with the Arkham games, and a lot of desire on his end, a lot of fans demanding it, it got to go with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, the original guys, coming back, and basically here are the caveats, and then basically here are the little changes and alterations. There's going to be a 15-minute They said initially a 15-minute Batgirl prologue.
Initially.
That was what they. I'm just going by word for word what they announced.
Right.
They announced. I remember they announced the 15-minute Batgirl prologue, which turned into a 30-minute thing, which we'll get into during the commentary.
We will. Oh God.
The other thing, I'll get into. Then we had the Brian. Basically, what they did in terms of the look, just to kind of preface this Brian Bowen's look, because it was really hard to bring the screen because he has some of those beautiful artwork you've seen, folks, as you can see by the image in front of you. Because it's like some of the most beautiful Batman art. It's really hard to capture in animation because all the line detail and everything, but really hard to capture in animation. Unfortunately, they didn't really go to that original artist I told you about, so they mix a few styles. They have basically the Brian Bowen compositions of shots, but they also have this artist known as Kevin Nolding's art style, which is kind of a simplified style added to a more simplified version so they can animate it, which kind of gives you a more stylized look, which some people are mixed with. I like it better in context than separately, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
The theatrical run, and importantly, folks, this is the big thing I got to mention before we get into this kind of our overall thoughts we're going, is that amazingly, this film, this hasn't happened since Mask of the Phantasm, years before, folks. This film got a theatrical run, and this is the first Batman Mask of the Phantasm, the first animated superhero film, mainstream superhero film to ever be released. And unfortunately, because that underperformed unjustly, has never been done since this film, because it's such a big deal. They put in the theaters for one night. Fathom Events, July 25th, which unfortunately screwed me over because I hate limited releases. And limited releases always screw me over. I'm never able to see them because they always just sold out. They became available and sold out in 2 days, folks. Anyway, I'm going to rant about that later. And lastly, just to seed in kind of the majority of this commentary is that at San Diego Comic-Con, the last thing we heard about before it actually came out was that it was screened at Comic-Con for the first time. Mm-hmm. At San Diego Comic-Con, they held a panel afterwards, like Q&A session, and basically the Batgirl controversy struck. And I'm not talking about just kind of the responses to the Q&A. I'm just talking about everyone's response to the scene, which became a very infamous GIF between Batgirl and Batman.
Oh God! Oh Jesus! Oh. Do we have to? Do we have to get into it?
In the commentary,
not. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I guess overall, because this commentary will go by fast, folks. I'll warn you now, because it's only a 77-minute film. Some people wish it was kind of shorter, but again, let's get into that now. So overall, T, what do we think about this film?
I refuse to acknowledge the Barbara Gordon stuff as part of this movie. I am going to be that harsh on it, Dragon. I'm sorry. Like, I am not as apologetic on it as you are. Like you said, there's some good. I wasn't engaged with it at all. To me, it's just kind of like it's Barbara Gordon being sucky at being a superhero and having a fixation with Batman. That's all it is. It sucks.
Allow me to shed some light on
Having said that, really quick, the 45-minute Killing Joke adaptation that we do get is pretty much spot on, except for a couple minor things that I have very nitpicky that are mostly to do with just me knowing the comic book like the back of my hand, being like, hey, why didn't they do it that way? But I don't know, Dragon. To me, it's like the movie starts with the whole transition into Barbara and Gordon kind of meeting for the night. And really what we get with the Batgirl thing, I more consider just a short film before the actual feature.
Okay, well, let me shed some light on what the thoughts are on this, and especially my thoughts. Look, in concept, the Batgirl 15-minute prologue idea sounded fine. Again, 15 minutes just to show you, okay, this
if it was 15 minutes, I would honestly have no problem with it. But to me, it's a pacing issue, really. But anyways, go ahead.
My point is, in concept, when it was announced, again, as 15 minutes. 15 minutes of Batgirl. I'm figuring it's a little Batgirl adventure. One, to remind the folks who may not be super familiar, okay, well, what Barbara Gordon, why is it such a big deal? She used to be Batgirl. Okay, basically, it's a little reminder. Also shows us why we care about her, which, again, it was strengthened why it's so impactful when, she gets gunned down in the story, you figure. And also, it gives us more of a bond to the Gordon family a little more. Again, all of that would be strong stuff to be accentuated by 15 minutes. But again, it's before the story, so you just if you really didn't you push the skip button, you basically get into the Killing Joke story. Again, as a little 15-minute prologue to remind you why you care about Batgirl. Initially, again, in concept, that sounds like a decent idea, right? Because they have to fill some runtime, right?
I mean, yeah, in concept, but having said that, I'm also one of those people that thinks this should have just been an extended short film.
Anyway, so right, so let's see. Basically,
I'm sorry, I have my own opinion. I'm not going to apologize for it, but I just did. Anyways.
I'm with you, Tiki, to an extent. I mean, I'm with you. I'm just saying 15 minutes I would have been fine with, but you're right. The way it currently stands, it does seem a lot like they really should have divvied it up as a short, because there was this great short that was another canned DC original animated film called Batgirl Year One, which is based off a really good comic.
Right.
A lot of people are saying essentially it would have been hopefully a much better version than the version we got in this if it were. The point is, it seems like they just really should separate these two and basically be like, I think it's kind of loosely in continuity with the Killing Joke. Basically, if you wanted it to be, you just watch that short on the short's primarily the Killing Joke. The 50-minute feature is the Killing Joke. And 50-minute feature is the Killing Joke. That includes credits too. So basically, 50-minute feature is Killing Joke. Mm-hmm. And then you also have a Batgirl thing, be kind of a little bonus thing on DVD. And DC's been known for having some good shorts, and hopefully be a.
That's exactly what they should have done. That is exactly what they should have done.
Exactly, and that's again, they've done some stuff in the past where they have really awesome shorts attached to the movies, and you think, why didn't they do that? So again, but they're kind of out of the short.
And it's a shame, Dragon, because I really love the stuff that we do get in the adaptation of the Killing Joke for the most part. I really do love a lot of it. And I think the presence of that 30-minute prologue just drags the film's whole reputation down. It drags the film's merit down as a whole.
Yes, and again, not just generally how we feel about the Batgirl stuff, not just generally talk about how we feel about the Killing Joke stuff, because people just dividing it instantly. You can't blame them for it, really. Again, it's instantly divided. Like, there's that stuff, and then there's the main feature we all care about. So, in my opinion, Killing Joke, it could use a few tweaks, as you said, Tiki. We have a few nitpicks here and there, but also another thing is they could probably push the R rating in certain places with those tweaks. But I think the result is still satisfying. I'm very satisfied with the results.
I mean, it's ironic that one of my big complaints, especially after watching Assault on Arkham, is I don't think they went R-rated enough.
Yes, it's amazing. Again, and primarily a theory's been pointed out that it's probably actors that they really wanted the R rating because they might have really pushed for the R rating because it was going to be put in theaters, so they made sure children couldn't see this, and that's probably.
I could see that. Yeah.
And honestly, you wouldn't want a child to see this film. There's really horribly dark thematic stuff in this film.
I could see my dad taking me to see this movie if it came out in theaters when I was a kid. I could.
Anyway, so I want to just to give you a big old benefit that might, hopefully, if lucky enough, might kind of wipe away some negative feelings about the Batgirl stuff.
Okay.
It's not about Batgirl itself. I'm just saying a layer to this movie that gave me so much enjoyment from it. I was so surprised. I was actually emotionally invested in throughout this film. I was surprised that it has a lot of ties, subtle ties to the animated series, and basically on some level,
it does. You're right.
Because there are tons of the Batman animated series in this DC universe, mainly the animated series, though, Easter eggs in this film. And, for example...
it's basically a major supporting character.
Yes. We'll get into that during the film. But, the Batgirl prologue kind of initially... Let me just kind of give you the through line real quick before we get started. The last thing I'll say, and then we'll just jump into it. But, the Batgirl prologue, you kind of... the idea is initially familiarizes us with kind of familiar territory. Okay, it's an adventure, kind of opening Batman animated series. Okay, it's kind of like a familiar little adventure to start things off. Of course, I know it trails off, but the point is,
yes, it does.
Believe me, we'll rake it over the coals, folks, when we get there. My point is, you have some familiar territory initially, like the animated series. Then you have all these Easter eggs that are kind of putting you in and remind you. And Tika, that can't just be by accident. I think they're intentionally trying to make you think of the animated series during this.
No, I think you're right. That is a thing I was picking up on.
And I think the performances are excellent. A lot of people have been giving our guys a lot of crap. I'm going to defend them to the end of the line, folks. I mean, I really do think there's some excellent performances here. We have some class. As much as I love Christopher Drake's score, from the Dark Knight film, the Dark Knight Returns animated film, we have the original kind of basically everyone minus Shirley Walker, who unfortunately is no longer with us, coming back to do this as a really great testament. You have Lolita Ramus, you have Chris Carter, and you have one of my favorites who scored some of my favorite episodes of Batman animated series aside from what Shirley Walker did. Mike McCuistion, he does some excellent score, and all three of them are working as a team to do score for this film. And it's Shirley Walker did the themes, but these guys did the great background score. And I think this film has great background score because of these guys.
All right, cool.
And again, the film just serves as it just serves me on another impactful. It serves everything on another impactful level as a subtle tribute and closing of the book on the Batman animated series to me. I just want to give you that seed, just going into another level of enjoyment people might find. It's think of it as kind of a closing tribute to the Batman animated series. If this were the last thing, it's not. It's not, because they're going to return to do some other stuff animated. It takes away from it, but they didn't know that at the time. So the point is, imagine this is kind of the closing of the book on the Kevin. Assume Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, this is kind of their send off performance.
All right, that's a really sentimental way to look at it, Dragon. I like that. I think that's a great way to transition.
That's all I got, so let's go.
Okay. So folks, we're going to go ahead and do our level best to record this as a podcast that you can listen to without having to watch the movie. But if you want to watch along with us, go ahead and sync up your DVD, press pause, get it to timestamp 000, and then we will count up to go. And when I say go ahead and press play. All right, Dragon, you ready? You on timestamp 000?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Without further ado, I'm sorry, Dragon. One quick thing to mention, of course, we have our little tradition here on the So You Want to Be an Imagineer channel of recording commentary tracks for movies that really should have commentary tracks but don't.
Yes, and I have to wonder if that's because of the controversy this film does not have commentary.
It could be. Having said that, I think it'd be interesting to. I don't know. Then again, commentary tracks usually get recorded months out in advance, so I doubt they'd be able to record a commentary track post Comic-Con and then post it on the DVD.
The other thing is there's a question floating around of how interested these guys were in making this movie, so that might be another reason for it. We don't know.
Okay, fair enough. But like I said, that's just kind of a tradition we like to go on. Okay, so without further ado, folks, let's get to it. The Killing Joke, fan commentary in 1, 2, 3, go! I bet that always brings a smile to your face when you see it.
Yeah, so let me mention this as it's about to happen here. I really do. While the Batgirl stuff really doesn't need to be in this film, I do love how they do meld it in here. Like I love kind of this like Babs addressing and subverting the expectation right off the bat. Like, why is this here? Basically addressing it right off the bat, saying, "I know you're wondering why the heck are we opening it like this?" I kind of
exactly.
like her addressing.
Yeah, that was kind of clever. That was clever. I picked up on
I love
that.
this like. Again, I love how it transitions us into Killing Joke, basically, and this was the calm before the storm. I like her narrating because, again, all of this happens to her in the Killing Joke, so I like that.
I have no problem with the opening 10 minutes, Dragon. I'm with you. If the opening 10 minutes was literally the only part of the Batgirl storyline, I think it would have been a better movie served for it, and I think it would have been a better movie than just the 50-minute Killing Joke adaptation.
Basically, all the just generally up to the 17-minute mark. And by the way, I want to mention here, when I instantly saw this, it was like, this is everything I love right here. Is the Batman Gordon scene on the roof, and just it's like hand him the file, it's doing everything. It's like right off the bat they had my money. It's like yes. I paid for the right thing. They're starring right off the bat with the Batman. Bullets by the bat signal. We're all good here. I'm all. See, I was lured into the false sense of security with the Batgirl setting right off the bat with that.
I love it.
Oh yeah, so after the classic rooftop scene, again, like right here is what I'm talking about, Tiki. You're right. In the first like 15 to 17 minutes, like we're all good here. At least all the ideas are still seems like they might be fruitful with those first 15 to 17 minutes. And like right here, we're in familiar territory with like a classic car chase, kind of like the opening to Under the Red Hood or like Batman Sub-Zero.
Yeah, right.
Like when Batman and Robin are foiling the jewelry heist. For those who've seen that film, that's what.
Yeah, no, it's a it's a really good cold open. Like I said, I wish this whole car chase sequence was the cold open. I'm gonna keep repeating that. It's like this whole thing. It's all very exciting. You know, look at fucking Batmobile coming around the corner.
Oh, let me say something. I'm sorry, Tiki, go on.
No, it's just a great way. You know, it's like it's everything we want in Batman. Right off the bat, we got Batgirl action, we got Batmobile action, we've got Gordon and Batman on the roof. You know, like you would think, just based on this is a perfect fucking way to start this movie.
Yeah, and let me mention something again. I'm adding some again that animated series theory I got for this thing because that Batmobile right there, the two Batmobiles we see in this movie are both from the animated series. And interestingly, especially Batgirl's costume and this Batmobile, these both were in the New Adventures of Batman, which was the latter show. So I'm attesting, Tiki, that the theory is we start from like where we last saw Batman series, and we will keep going further and further back.
Thank God they didn't go with the New Adventures of Batman version of the Joker. Thank God. Well,
actually, I'm going to get to that. We get to see an origin that was inspired by the Killing Joke that is in New Adventures of Batman. But we'll get there.
Okay.
But my point is, you see what I'm saying? I think it's like a great thematic thing they're doing here. Of like, this is like where you last saw Batgirl and kind of Batman at. Now we're just kind of going further and further back.
No, absolutely, man. I'm into it thus far. I'm into it. I mean, we know it's going to go off the rails. It's inevitable.
Yeah, like this stuff's great. You know, like Batman is like at his great new intimidating. He's really intimidating with the interrogations and stuff in this movie. You got Batgirl having like a great little thing, sardonic thing right here with the guy.
Oh.
That's a sweet hit, by the way. I love you. It's not dead. Yes. Just, he was again. Batman sped up just the right amount. He's fine. So again, we got a lot of solid action and good status quo here, and status quo is very important for the Killing Joke, just to kind of know like where the world is in Gotham in this.
No, you're right, because the Killing Joke basically does kind of smack you right into the middle of the ongoing Batman continuity in the comics.
And remember, the Killing Joke is this great story where it's supposed to be, even if you've never read a Batman comic, you should be able to kind of understand the world with Batman just going into the beginning of that story.
Sure.
So again, it stands really well in time. Now, take a look, this Easter egg palooza. All these photos on the wall, which they address, they're all from other DC animated properties. And all these, like, there's the Wayne various pictures of the Wayne family. Lots of random pictures. I mean, there's the Kents.
And they're basically just freeze frames of other animated movies.
Well, no, like they're actually like the photographs. Like it's so bizarre. It's like saying that my uncle likes to have pictures of family here, families he's hit, and including the Kents are on there. Like Clark Kent, Supergirl, and the Mom and Pop Kent are on that wall.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Right.
It's like hilarious. Like photographs, just random photographs from everything. Like Gordon's family's on there from year one of different models. Okay, now in this film, my animated series theory, and I love this, that we have classic mob stuff going on here, like like kind of the familial mob stuff. Like he slaps his nephew there, and like all really classic kind of good mob bossy stuff.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, yeah, and again, right now this is all doing it for me right here when we were getting into this film. I mean, showcases the mob element, and here's what I love, and I caught this in the rewatch thing. This blew me away. Is that what they're doing here strategically? Is that they're showing a good mob element in this background story. So when we get into the Killing Joke flashbacks, you get to see the parallel that crime turned the Joker into the Joker. And again, the basically see the presence of the criminal element, especially in the mob in Gotham. See how it turns people. Again, makes desperate criminals that kill the Waynes, or makes criminals that are trying to make a big score, which equals the Joker.
All right, Dragon, I think this is the first elephant in the room we have to go over.
Well, this is funny. You know who I thought this was initially?
Who?
So I thought it was Bruce Timm doing the gay guy here.
Oh, God.
It's not. It's not, but it's someone who sounds identical to Bruce Timm doing doing the gay best friend.
Now, people have definitely kind of commented this is essentially a 90s stereotype of gay best friend.
It is.
I have to agree. Yeah, and it's not very flattering.
They need Barbara to kind of, again, because they wanted that romantic tension between her and Batman. They had to give her someone to bounce off of, because it couldn't just be a male friend. Because again, why wouldn't he be with Barbara? That's the logic they're operating with.
I mean, I don't think it's like overtly offensive or anything like that.
No. It's just forced. It feels forced. That's all.
Exactly. Right.
Again, he sounds so much like Bruce Timm. It's eerie. And also, what's so bizarre? The whole yoga thing, like the whole allegory of like Batman's the yoga teacher, is that the yoga line is in the Killing Joke, but it's not in the scene. That they basically stripped out the yoga line from the scene because he says, my friend's coming over because we're doing yoga together. They took that out of there.
I got that,
but they put it all over here, which is so weird. Now, I love this too. Again, there's so much potential in these first 15 minutes together. Right here, he mentions like the same family's owned this building since 1920. I love the history of Gotham here, kind of history of the mob, and just kind of what's Gotham's history. It seems like there's going to be some interesting directions here. Again, history being a very key factor with the Killing Joke story. Seems like some nice things going to be set up here, some good parallels, but doesn't pan out.
I mean, yeah, it is very thematic, and you're right, it doesn't pan out. At this point, I am kind of getting a little antsy, though, already.
Oh, believe me, I know. There's a marking directly when the things start to falter, and there's the direct mark. We're not there. It's with the gay best friend, but it's not. It hasn't happened yet. It's later.
Okay.
That's when things start. That's when you start to flinch, and then everything comes crumbling down.
Oh God, that's a really cool shot right there.
Oh yeah, I think that's a reference to Maxie Zeus, by the way. That statue had. I could be wrong. So this is all cool stuff. Batgirl just kind of taking down the bad guys, and. Yeah, and the idea of Batgirl having kind of this going up against this kind of this womanizing scumbag isn't a bad idea, and like going up, what they're going for is like kind of like a Joker setup, and that it's like one low level monster. It's set up like she's going up against one low level monster now, and then later on she's going to go up against the king of monsters.
Well, I mean, it's very much like this guy is definitely a sexist pig in his own way, for sure. But the horrifying thing about the Joker and what he does to Barbara is it's almost entirely non-sexual on his end, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a little bit of ambiguity to it, but I firmly believe that, yeah, the Joker did some horrifying things to Barbara, but I don't think he did it to sexually please himself or anything like that. Far from it. I think he just did it to send the message and kind of do the whole one bad day thing. So that's the terrifying thing about the Joker.
Absolutely. I just want to mention the thing when she went into the vault just now.
Right.
I loved it. It's so terrifying a situation, especially in the days we go into without going into them in detail. Is she's drugged, and it's like she has 10 seconds of consciousness left, and she makes the most of it. She gets into that vault. She knees him in the balls, and she gets into that vault. That's a really good movie. And Batgirl being kind of a good spirit. I love Bat Coffee, by the way. I love Bat Coffee. It's so pleasant. Seriously, it was so nice. Sorry,
Nick Ford somewhere has shed a single tear.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, this is all good. Again, I love Batman as the consummate mentor. And this, again, it's kind of familiar territory. Batgirl's still getting used to working with Batman. She's worked with him she's been Batgirl for 3 years at this point. Batman knows who she is. And they don't go into it in the movie, but in the comics, she knew who he was at this point. So, I mean, the point is like they're familiar with each other. They kind of have a working familiar. I like that they're kind of distant. As that it's not implied that she knows who he is at this point. So still keeping arms again. That gets worse later on. But just for the sake
everything you're saying, it's like it's good ideas that are about to come crumbling down in about 5 minutes.
And again, just Batman as the mentor backer. This is all good stuff so far.
But it's all going to come crumbling down, Dragon. It's a house of cards.
Okay, right. I think it's right.
Speaking of which,
no. I don't know if she yells in this scene. This is what I'm talking about. If she doesn't, then that's later. Oh yeah, it's I think it's here. Aside from the dumb yoga line. Again, they're really forcing this yoga because of the yoga is so.
Because the 90s.
Yep. Oh, this is it. Yeah, this is where I start. This is where the movie starts to crumble. Like it starts to a few chunks come off of it right here. Just like the whole thing kind of starts to kind of shake like a Jenga tower right now.
Right, exactly.
Because when she's just having a very public display of of this bizarre oh no, he does, he needs. She seems so kind of needy for approval in that scene.
No, I completely agree. It's like it was really good characterization for Batgirl up until that moment, and then it's just like, okay, maybe not.
I'm saying there's still a few glimmers of hope after that, but then at the darning moment, then it all comes crumbling. But by the way, I just want to mention this pillowcase bit is so real world creepy. It really is. It's the fact that again, you're right, Tiki. You're absolutely right. The guy does sexualize Batgirl. It's really the facts. I never imagined seeing the whole pillowcase thing in DC animated film. That's really real world creepy.
I mean, that is definitely kind of it's something that earns the R rating.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The implication of that is really creepy. And again, with this story, Tiki, now again, for anyone who's not crazy about the implications that Joker, raped Barbara, this story confirms that in this take on it, because it's really building it up, and you can only assume that's implied. At least they're implying that because we're hinting at it here that's going to be there later. Oh yeah, I got a great action going on here. Again, this is all good stuff right now. This is all just really fun action. He's got scuba tanks. So far, this guy seems all put together. And but I think we missed did we miss? Sorry, yeah, we missed the dumb gag. Paris France. Paris. I hate this guy's name so much. It's such a dumb joke.
Paris France. Oh God.
That is the dumbest joke I've ever seen. I kid you not. Paris France. Yeah, but again, I like how there's. Oh, by the way, I love there was a quick little hiding the money under the sink. Kind of remind me of Jesse Pinkman hiding place. By the way.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, this is all cool stuff, right? And again, the Bruce Timm and company, they really know how to hint at the action. Especially Sam Liu. Sam Liu's an action director. JL was really a good fighting and also a really good thematic director. Except for the Justice League animated films that they're doing now, which are all not good.
Yeah, and now that you brought it up, Dragon, I do think that this guy is kind of a good little build-up to the Joker, and I appreciate it a little bit more in that context now.
Yeah, and I guess before it goes too far with this, and again, aside from the stupid name, this guy he's kind of menacing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the stupid name for sure.
Yeah. So, does it bother you at all? The whole this kind of confirms the rape implication. Basically, it makes the rape implication a little more apparent. Do you mind that, or
not at all? Because I always thought the rape implication. Like I said, I just kind of went on a soliloquy about how I think the Joker did sexually assault her, but he didn't do it to get any pleasure out of it.
But I do respect that they still kept it a little ambiguous. It's again because obviously they don't want to. He doesn't take pictures of himself, he's not in any of the pictures later on. But there's still
which we're going to talk about.
Yes, but the fact that he's not in any pictures, that's the reason it's still up for debate about what happened. Because you think Joker would show Gordon that just to screw with him.
And we're going to talk about that. I think that's a big conversation point.
We will. But yeah. But you see, the point is, I do there is a lot of evidence to suggest that they are implying that with all these little touches, the fact that this guy's really sexually attracted to Batgirl, the fact that later on Batman's talking to some prostitutes, that definitely implies that Joker may also be a little sexually active. Which
that is also not something that I'm thrilled about.
I mean, we'll get to it when we get to it. But let's put a pin in the hole.
Let's to not really inherently mess with the movie for me, but.
Yeah. Well, let's just put a pin in the rape conversation for when it more happens more. So yeah, I don't want to get too far into that now.
Because rape. I'm sorry.
Again, folks, it's a rated R movie. You should expect rape.
Not necessarily. Just because a film's rated R, you shouldn't expect rape.
Well, actually, now I think about it, a lot of R-rated movies do have rape in them. Now I think about it.
Well, I don't know.
Not everyone. I'm just saying there's surprisingly a lot of. Anyway,
can we stop talking about rape?
Okay. Sorry. But let's see. So I love the idea of Batgirl. She disobeys Batman's orders and she walks into a trap. I just wish it wasn't such an obvious trap by this guy though, because it seems like such an obvious play. And
Batman would be ashamed.
Yes, and Batman warns her.
He would be just shaking his head like in disapproval.
Yeah. And again, I love Batman. He gives very, very blunt, smart calls. He makes very blunt, smart calls here, where he says, he basically says, "Okay, well, he's fixated on you. He's objectified you. You're off this case. You're a liability." Batman. Here's the thing, though. I love this though. This is a great thematic idea set up. Is that Batgirl just has his bluntness, his coldness, his callousness, which we'll see in great detail in Killing Joke. He tries to distance himself from his occupation, where Batgirl cannot. It leads to Batgirl making these errors, and because Batman just can't treat people with kid gloves, this leads Batgirl to make really bad decisions.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting little dichotomy we got there. And like again, this is a fun little action set piece here. And the little thing here is, wish it wasn't such an obvious trap she fell for. It makes you question how she ended up being Oracle.
And you know what, Dragon? I think that is kind of like the inherent problem that people have with this prologue, outside of just the obvious unmentionable thing that we'll get to in a bit. Just the fact that like it starts out with Batgirl kicking some ass, but then it slowly but surely kind of weaves this narrative of her being maybe a little bit like in too deep with some of this stuff. That's a cool shot by the way. That creeping on
the painting that was behind Franz there. That was it's one of Bruce Timm's. He does these nude art books. He does really great. He does really great female artwork, and that was what was behind him on there.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway, also I love there was an idea that was seated there. Again, sounded like kind of interesting is that our guy here, good parallel between her and where she eventually ends up as Oracle. Again, isn't really panned as well as we thought it would be, but he says, he calls his uncle a dinosaur in Little Criminal Empire. By the way, I love Batman's entrance there.
Yes,
I love it.
Yes, that's a great Bat entrance. Yeah, that might be the single best moment of this whole prologue, right there.
Yes, it's so good. But I'm sorry, what was it? What I was saying. Right. The Oracle thing is that the guy's like he's overthrowing his uncle. He has a line saying, he knows all the technological things. Basically, he's really tech savvy, and that's why he'll rule Gotham. Of course, she becomes very tech savvy by the end. So again, she surprisingly takes a lot away from this sequence. Again, before the darning moment that now we're here.
Oh God.
Okay, but remember,
can't we just fast forward, Dragon? Can't we just fast forward and pretend this doesn't happen?
Don't fast forward. And again, I would say if you want to be given a lot, if you want,
just edit, just fan edit, just snippity snip, get the cut scissors and just snip this out.
Okay, folks. So the point is, before this scene, we still had some interesting directions they could have gone in. And again, there wasn't necessarily a lot of bad stuff. It wavered a little bit, but then until this scene right here. This is where it all kind of comes down. Again, her having a disagreement with Batman, but the way it's playing right here, she sounds really like just uninformed when she's having this conversation. She sounds really like she's making a lot of stupid points.
Yes, absolutely, which makes the inevitable outcome even worse.
It's basically her saying, "I walked into a trap and I did the right thing by doing that." Which you didn't. You walked into a trap and you almost could have gotten killed.
Movie, you had just cut these 2 minutes out and it becomes such a better movie.
Well, no, Tiki,
I'm pounding my head on the table. I'm pounding my fucking head on the table right now.
No, Tiki, it's everything after this. It's all bad. It's all bad after this. Remember, it's the fact that they keep calling back to this moment after this.
Oh God. Oh, Jesus.
There's no fixing. You just have to end it before this moment.
I guess so.
Anyway, so right here again, I don't mind the idea of her sparring with him to take out frustration. That's one thing, but then
no, come on, why?
Okay, I'll tell you why. Here's the reason. This is in here because Bruce.
Why?
See, folks, I'm familiar with the animated series here, folks, and Bruce Timm in the animated series before New Adventures.
Obligatory bra shot because need that in there.
So the animated series, there was heavily implied, especially in Batman Beyond, that Batgirl and Bruce Wayne had a relationship, which, initially as a kid, you don't really pick up on, but again, years later, you recognize, oh my God, it's his friend's daughter, which is really creepy. Not only his friend's daughter, but his ward's girlfriend, which is even creepier.
Dragon, let's just take the friend's daughter thing entirely out of the equation, okay? Let's just table that for a second. That is just a fucking terrible scene in general, just because it's such a stupid argument, and then literally the sex comes out of nowhere. It's out of nowhere. Ugh, God.
Yeah, and again, the animated series.
You're absolutely right. The Jim Gordon thing is just kind of the stink cherry on top of it.
And especially given the story, Jim Gordon's going to go through so much in this movie. In the background, you have that roaming around your head. So again, folks, I think going into this, I kind of knew that was a thing Bruce likes. Again, the animated series, it's a cute. Oh, she has a crush on Batman. Then New Adventures suggests that okay, they have a relationship, and then going forward, it's confirmed. They just have to make peace with it. It's okay, it's a weird choice, but in Batman Beyond, it's a little cooler because they're less different in age. Batman here looks like he might be. Batman is withered, so it might be in 40, and she might be 20. Which is
right, exactly.
Animated series is a 10-year age difference. It's still not settling when you really think about it. But again, it's something that in Batman Beyond you're fine with because okay, they're both old.
So, again, we had a lot of positive things to say about that first 20 minutes.
I'll say this. This is actually the dumbest moment in the entire film right here.
Oh, God.
When she randomly flips the guy in full that is my worst moment for this film. I hate that moment because I think short of the obvious moment, I hate that moment.
Of course.
Short of the obvious, I think that's the dumbest moment in the entire film. She just randomly flips a guy because, again, he's not hurting the girl or anything. He's just saying, I need space, and then she throws him randomly. There's your space because she's mad at Batman. That's so stupid.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Purely because she's mad at Batman. And again, this is Batman's point. He's saying you're getting
too emotional. Fucking wait for the actual killing joke to start.
You see what I mean, though? It's Batman is entirely right. He's saying you're too emotionally invested.
Of course he's right. Of course.
Yeah. Again, why couldn't Batman just fight him out of frustration? That I could be on board for. Why does it have to end with her randomly? Now I'm gonna have a fun time on this roof right now.
It's completely obligatory. It is completely fucking just I
gotta tell you, I don't know what Bruce Timm was thinking on that one. Again, I don't know if it was exactly his move, but I know he likes putting them together. That's why it's the two of them. But why is it in there so random?
Dragon, this movie, I mean, I love what they did with the killing joke, but everything
after the first 15 minutes, it all goes down.
And I've got to say, because of that, because it makes it such an uneven experience, it is fairly low on my rankings. I mean, I think it's right ahead of Secret Life of Pets. It's probably down in my top 17, 18, which I think is a real shame because this could have been something very special, and I think we still are going to get something special with the Killing Joke adaptation that happens. But
by the way, right now we just talked to one of the worst parts. He says it's just sex; it doesn't matter. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's. And here we get kind of a cool action sequence going on here, firing a bazooka at the bed. I love when the ejector seat goes on. I love the fact it's the ejector seat, but it's turned to the side, so he's just skirting along the ground. I get great action. So next thing, I would bet you J. Oliver is a board artist, and he directed Dark Knight Returns, and he boarded this film. He also boarded the Justice League Gods and Monsters film. So you get that's why I have a lot of really good action. Basically, all the super violent stuff that's J. Oliver. Let's assume that all the skilled fighting, all the violent stuff that's J. Oliver. All the artistic action, kind of the well choreographed fight scenes, well staged fight scenes. That's the director. It's Sam Liu. Anyway, let's see. So this is the thing about where we are. So we're seeing again good stuff so far with that Batgirl, but then I mean, I tell you, T, really painful bit there. Again, real world damage, folks.
Yes.
You pull into a bunch of crates, you got to pull some big splinters out.
Oh God.
But let me say this, folks. Again, going into this movie, I was thinking people were overhyped about it. I knew it was a bad call. I'm used to that whole the Batgirl Batman relationship. I was thinking that's all I feared it was, but no, it was a lot worse. It came out of nowhere, and it was, it came out of nowhere. And what's just far worse. Everyone's saying like, "Oh, it completely spits in the face of the backer kid."
It came out of nowhere. It dominates the rest of the plot line moving forward in this prologue, and worst of all, I think it kind of like reverses itself in the goal it was trying to do of making Batgirl like this kick-ass, really likable heroine, you know? Mm-hmm. It just, like, she just becomes unlikable after this. I hate to say it.
Well, we're almost done this, by the way, but almost done the Batgirl segment, I mean.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, thing with Batgirl, everyone's saying, like, it was they kill, it insults the memory of Batgirl. I'm saying, oh, come on, that's an overreaction. I'm seeing this, I kind of have a hard time arguing that. It's like, after that first 15 minutes, this isn't Batgirl. She's
and it's a shame, Dragon, because they were on such a good path in that first. It's an anomaly. It's like the first 15 minutes is genuinely really good. It would have connected really well to the rest of the Killing Joke movie. But then we get this.
Well, listen, let me mention two missed opportunities that are coming about in this scene. One is the whole talk of the Abyss that we kind of talked over earlier. The Abyss thing, because it is directly followed by that stupid sex scene, all the meaning of that scene goes away and it feels cheesy.
Right.
But again, that's a good scene though. The whole going to the Abyss thing, which does thematically relate to Killing Joke really well, but again, undercut completely and you forget about it. Here though, Batgirl beating the tar out of that guy, that is in reference to after the Killing Joke story, Batgirl becomes very violent towards the Joker, and she becomes, because she's really violent jaded. It's a kind of a survival mode.
I can see that.
And again, that's the thing. Like Batgirl, out of all the Bat family members, she's the one that's most willing to kill, and that's kind of the scary thing. She's actually the most violent out of the Bat family because of her experiences.
Right.
And again, it's kind of out of order in this case. When you make her violent beforehand, it comes off a lot of rant.
And that's kind of a little bit. It cheapens the whole thing a little bit as well, because she learns that lesson through her experiences in the Killing Joke. So to have it just be randomly inserted through through this, just because she's sexually frustrated with Batman, it's like, I don't, man. Yeah, you're right. Just total missed opportunity there.
Yeah. And again, just that Abyss scene could have been played more as a way of hinting at joke, the whole Joker thing with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, the difference between Batgirl and Batman, going too far there, and that's what they're aiming for, but it just doesn't play as well.
It just feels rushed. Like you said, it just, like, we don't have the nuance of the actual development from the Oracle, so it just kind of comes out of nowhere with the violence.
Well, yeah, let me get to my two gripes for this scene, just because we were about to finally get into the main attraction here, folks. But let me transition with this. So, two things. One, the last important thing about the Abyss, because it's coming about in this scene again, is that the whole point of the Abyss thing is that we see the value of Batman's detachment when he's dealing with the Joker. He's very unlike, he's not like angry at the Joker. He's really just trying to kind of, don't know, he's mad at the Joker, but I mean, he approaches it very detached. He's not making it personal like Batgirl is. That's the whole point of the whole Abyss thing. He plays it detached, and that's a safe way to play it. That's why he's telling you don't get your emotions involved, or else bad stuff's going to happen to you.
Right.
And secondly, here, big problem is that. In the Killing Joke, and what they probably should have done here is that you need to keep her Batgirl, which makes it all the more tragic when she is no longer able to be Batgirl.
Mm-hmm.
When she's shot. But importantly, Tiki, the other really important layer you have there when she was Batgirl is you kind of question when Alfred has that line, you don't underestimate him. Because Batman's saying, how do we not know enough about each other? Well, again, hinting that maybe Joker knows more about you than you know about him, Bruce, because he might know that Barbara Gordon is Batgirl if you have her be Batgirl when he shows up to the door.
Exactly.
And you kind of lose that when you make her retire like this out of the blue. Then 2 weeks later, the real movie happens.
Oh, God.
And by the way, there's a Storm coming reference, which I did appreciate. A little Batman Begins reference. The storm is coming. Okay, so we start in a puddle in the rain, which was, again, as mirrored in the whole beginning and end of Killing Joke. Not in the same context, but I'm just saying they open and end with a puddle, which is cool. Mm-hmm. Oh, Gotham's Rage. I thought that was a clever little thing I saw in the trailer when they did this.
Right.
Yeah, so let's see. So we got really good writing on Bullock coming up here. However, I will say this though: Robin Atkin Downs, who by the way he played Doomsday in the Batman v Superman movie.
Oh God, really?
He's done various other DC animated roles. I'm just saying it was before he did that probably. Actually, no, he probably did that simultaneously. Actually. Point is, Robin Atkin Downs, he does the voice of Bullock here. I don't know, the voice I think is it's okay, but I love the writing on Bullock here though.
The writing's really good, and honestly, I think we've been spoiled with Bullock recently. So
that's what I'm saying. I mean, because Bullock barely did anything he only had like one scene in the I don't even know if he's spoken the Killing Joke. He just kind of he
Yeah,
appears.
I mean, he's definitely in the background. Yeah, I don't know if he had a line of dialogue. I want to say he did. I want to say he had at least a brief conversation with Gordon. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this definitely expands on his character for sure.
And what this scene does here, and again, this is also like an added bit, and this is a good added bit for your folks. And basically, this and Batman's search for leads are the really good ways they extended the story. And like right here, I love this. There's a really creepy idea put forth here that these guys were killed 3 years ago. So Joker's been on the loose for 3 years, and Batman has not known this. And the fact that he's been planning the whole Killing Joke plan for 3 years because of Batgirl, because Batgirl's been around for 3 years. The instant he saw Batgirl, if the instant he saw Batgirl, he put this plan into motion. That's how creepy that is.
Yeah, right. Oh God.
Well, again, whether it's like not directly Batgirl, the point is he's had this since he saw Batgirl. Maybe it's not direct.
I mean, Joker's plans are kind of like ever evolving, so he kind of like probably got the inception in his head to do something like that, but then it just kept growing and growing.
They linger on this jogging way too much.
Yes, they do.
I'm saying like her mouth is open like a doll or something for like a few seconds. It's really weird. And then this jogging. Why can't she just be in the place already? We have to see her jog.
I don't know.
I think there's the hammering in. Okay, she can walk now. And now
you know what? That's absolutely it. I think that's absolutely it. It's like, oh look, she's athletic and whatnot.
I'm just saying it's a little forward. I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm just saying it's a little forward. Okay, so oh boy, we're about to have a really excellent scene come up here, folks. I mean, there are 2 scenes in this whole. No, I love the Killing Joke segment of this whole feature here. It's excellent stuff, but the two Kevin Conroy is giving his A game here, folks. It's been called into question a lot of the time. Kevin Conroy, whether he's just kind of slipping into an old pair of shoes when he does Batman, but here, no, it's like what he does in the Arkham games. The Arkham games, Kevin Conroy gives his A game, and here he gives a really good A game. I argue.
I mean, I am kind of more in the camp where he's not bad. I've heard better Kevin Conroy performances in the past, and I think he might have passed his prime a little bit.
But I think this one, I think that he's giving a good effort, and he gets to play a really.
I love that Two-Face thing is one of my favorite cameos, by the way.
It's so cruel that his coins on the ground, no one has picked up.
Yes, absolutely.
But what's great here, and this was done all without dialogue in the book, but it's kind of a fun little exhibition. You get to hear Ray Wise doing Commissioner Gordon, which is pretty good.
Of course.
But again, this one I'm talking about to you. I argue Kevin Conroy. I think he slips in the Batman when he just has to do like your generic Batman lines. When you give him something to work with, that's where he really gets the chance to shine, like the Arkham games. Or in this case, this scene here is a very excellent written Batman scene where you get to hear in the performance, you get to hear kind of the little whisper on his lip. You get to hear the genuine kind of Bruce Wayne coming out of his Batman here, where it's just like this is a Batman who's at wit's end. He's basically the whole story of this Batman is realizing that he's realizing, Joker and I have been doing this for so many years, and we're going to keep doing this. I mean, is there any way to avoid? He's genuinely begging Joker here. Is like, come on, let's just cut through this and can we not kill each other?
Dragon, I absolutely think that this is a case of me just being so familiar with the comics, and this. Of course, this whole speech that Batman's giving right here. And by the way, I love how visually this is represented. It's great, like with the Joker in the shadow, the cards and everything. Having said that, like I have this speech ingrained in my head in the comics, and it's absolutely not Conroy's fault that it doesn't sound like how it sounds in my head. But having said that, in my head, it was less soft-spoken and more like desperate.
Yeah, I mean, I just love it. This whole story is based on Batman coming to grips with how infinite a problem their dynamic is, and he's trying to. It's Batman here, where he just has that line. I'm just making a genuine effort to, save our lives here. It's your life or mine. It just sounds so desperate, and I think he's communicating it so well.
I guess so. Like I said, it's not that I have a complaint about the performance itself. It's just like some of these lines are so ingrained in my head, and of course, with any graphic novel, it's like you imagine characters saying the lines a certain way. So it's just a personal nitpick of mine. I think he does do a good performance. It's just not necessarily what I had in my head.
I love this, by the way. Again, I love when you did the class scene where he rips the wig off the guy. Kevin Conroy he hasn't sounded super intimidating like this in a while, since the Arkham Knight, but before that, it was this kind of a long stretch before you had like your really intimidating Kevin Conroy Batman lines.
Right.
Like here, it's full man, the man himself, folks, the man who owns this movie.
And I absolutely think Mark Hamill, like, I don't know what anyone's fucking talking about if they say that Mark Hamill.
People are insane for not.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Mark Hamill is a tour de force in this movie.
He is so good in this film.
I mean, he changes up some stuff. I definitely think he's a little more raspy than he was in the animated series, which is appropriate because this is a slightly more older Joker than we saw in the animated series. It's kind of in between the animated series and Batman Beyond.
Yeah. And again, folks, we know fully well it's not connected to the animated. I'm saying thematically they're going for like kind of the idea, Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy coming back is like thematically they're playing into like you're familiar with the animated series. That's why that's why this movie got made, because fans of the animated series love Mark Hamill.
And then Mark Hamill basically gets to play a whole other side of the character right here.
And he's been waiting 24 years to do
I'm sure he has.
And that's Tiki, I'm gonna get, especially at the end, I'm gonna get into this, but this is a performance these two guys have been waiting to do for 24 years. And my God, it plays really well, I think, in spots. Especially the ending is one of my favorite parts of this movie. We'll get there. Point is, this Tiki though, I mean, the pre-joke, the flashback pre-joke that Mark Hamill does, it's the most honest, wonderful Mark Hamill performance I've ever heard. It's one of the most wonderful performances I've ever heard.
I mean, this right here, it's such a heartbreakingly realistic depiction of marriage and how desperate unemployment can be.
Oh yeah, and again, he's a guy who's trying to pursue his dream of being a comedian, but he stinks at it, and you feel for him. Again, never would you imagine ever having this much sympathy for the Joker in any capacity?
I still like to think that this is a multiple choice version of Joker's origin, but still, it is a pretty definitive version in the realm of the comics for sure.
Well, remember they still acknowledge that in this movie, Tiki. That is
of course, yeah. Yeah, I'm
still just saying going off this strain of logic for this movie. And again, it's unreliable narrator in places, which communicates a little better in the book, I'll admit. But, still, it's an unreliable...
And I think the unreliable narrator thing communicated the best in The Dark Knight out of anything, but I digress.
Of course, but it all started here, folks.
Yeah.
But, it's good. He's like, you root for the Joker here. And again, he's a side you've never seen of him, is that he just wants to get his pregnant wife into a better living condition. That's all he wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very human, admirable goal. By the way, I just want to point out really quick, I love the shellfish symbolism in this book, and I think it was very well represented visually in the movie.
Yeah, and the fact that it's white on the inside also, like the Joker himself. Oh yeah, just some great. Again, they bring back the Bolin compositions really well. Like sometimes they're a little reversed and like in a different angle of it, but it's great. But again, it's Mark Hamill. My comparison for his performance of the Joker here, like the fully formed Joker, it's like he's reading poetry.
Yeah, he is reading poetry, dude. That's exactly what he's doing.
I know it's like such a natural.
This is like sacred Batman text we have right here.
It is, but it's just the way he's doing it. So it's like he reads it as ease, as if he's reading a poem he's read hundreds of times before. Oh god, just the way he's like talking to our first victim here. Oh god, our Fred Tatasciore, Carney owner. Oh god.
This was an iconic shocker panel in the comic.
I love how they do play it up though. Like the guy's not responding. Okay, there's some great Easter eggs. We see basically tons of versions of the Joker here on the screen. So we get Dark Knight Returns victims on the left there. We get kind of the Smilex '89 Joker. We have the Dark Knight. Death in the Family. Let's see. One of my favorites, Laughing Fish, and importantly, last one on the right. Very important, I think. Again, we're going. Big animated series theme, Tiki. LAFCO Toy Factory, the first Joker episode people saw, Christmas with the Joker.
Oh, okay, nice.
That's what the LAFCO Toy Factory is. So the point is, that has to be intentional. They're trying to make you think the animated series. Again, I think.
No, I think you're spot on with that.
And like right here, that line again would be made better had that girl been Batgirl before she was paralyzed. But that whole like, are you sure that how can two people? Again, it's an excellent line delivered by Kevin Conroy. I think he's like, how can two people hate each other without knowing anything about each other? Mm-hmm. Again, well, maybe you should underestimate him. Again, the fact that Alfred just calling him, well, maybe you don't know him as well as you think you do. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. Good stuff. Just Batman acknowledging he drives me. How can two people hate each other without knowing anything?
And again, I hate to call back to this, but like, I really do think that this story, as iconic as it was, a lot of the really great thematic elements of it were portrayed even better in The Dark Knight. Right. Like this whole element of like Batman and the Joker having this this perverse, almost kind of like love affair with each other, even though neither of them want to admit it,
Oh yeah. You're right, Tiki. By the way, I want to mention something real quick. It's so charming to me that Gordon scrapbooks his and again, it's that great dynamic of Gordon tries to separate home from work, but this is like the happy medium of like,
Absolutely.
he keeps like a case file, but it's in like the most domestic of ways. He keeps a scrapbook of the news clippings. It's like it's so friendly of Gordon's. Like it's like acknowledgement of the madness. Like this is my life. I keep scrapbooks of my costume friends' arch enemies.
Right.
But again, he takes such attention to the details. Like, keeps like catalogs it so well. And again, I love the homage to the first Detective
Yes.
27.
Yes.
That was in the comic too. It was great. And again, the score here really accentuates these bits very well.
Oh God.
Now there are the pinpricks, Tiki.
Oh.
See, look at Joker's eyes in that shot. That's what inspired the pinpricks and the pinprick eyes in the New Adventures Batman. They were going for that from the book.
I mean, just this moment.
It only works. I'm sorry. Yeah, this moment's really impactful. Sorry.
Oh God. Oh jeez.
Oh God.
I think it's even more horrifying seeing it in fully animated form because you just get the convulsions from her body.
Oh yeah, and I tell you though, this is the meanest we've ever seen Joker. These lines, and Alan Moore's words here, are so well complimented by Mark Hamill's voice here. We're saying, comparing her to a book, and never read as good as this. And when I was reading it in the book as I was hearing it here.
Yeah, I hear you.
Comparing her to a book, it's so cruel. Again, saying, but there's the spine's a little damaged. Oh my God, it's so twisted.
Gotta love the Joker's Hawaiian shirt design.
Of course.
He wore his camera.
And there's the implication coming up there with that unbuttoned, which is in the book, by the way. I'm saying, again, the implications seem more horrific given the stuff surrounding this film.
Yeah, you're right.
And with the pinprick thing there, again, as you see here, it works in these 2 points. You saw when he entered the door and right here where we end the scene. The pinpricks look amazing. You can only do it like that. You can't have it constantly.
I think the pinpricks are stuff where you can only really do it if you're trying to emulate like a comic book panel or at least emulate the style of it. Like right there. Like,
yes.
That's an iconic Killing Joke shot right there.
Cheers to crime. To crime.
Oh, God.
Again, you can only have in like moments. You can't have like constantly have white eyes. It looks weird.
Uh-huh. So I love how the shellfish were evolving from prawns to lobster.
Yep, and again, those they come back in a great way by the end.
Yes. That's something I definitely picked up, like right from my first read through of the Killing Joke, how prominent the shellfish were.
And while you don't have the accentuated reds like you do in the book, but you know what it does. Again, it would be out of place if they did an animation. You can't do everything.
And I think there's just enough of a vaguely red tint to it.
Yeah, again, like this whole thing is kind of like a grayish kind of brown thing, but we'll eventually get more red with the Red Hood's POV coming up.
Of course.
Basically that's the best they did with that, because again, it's all flashback except when he has the Red Hood on, it's all red. So that's your red you get there.
Right. Yeah.
Thematically,
exactly.
The lobsters are the Joker's underneath. The lobster is the Red Hood, and underneath the red shell is the white Joker face. That's the idea you're going with. The lobsters and the prawns and stuff.
Yeah, right. It's honestly one of the best uses of symbolism I've ever seen in a comic. It's a classic use of symbolism in DC.
And again, Tiki, this kind of dawned on me when I was watching the movie this time around. Kind of, I guess, never dawned on me reading the book. Is that I love, again, it's also accentuated a little bit by the background stuff, is that Gotham's criminal element ending in some way creating the Joker just like he created Batman. I love that.
Of course, sure.
It's so brilliant. I mean, again, I know it's an unreal story.
Yeah, and that goes, of course, back to the brilliant Mark Hamill monologue we're going to get about, I bet you had a bad day once.
Yes, and again, I love just him. It sounded he was using his Mark Hamill voice, but you get to see how good an actor he is just by making you care about this guy who you never in a million years, when you think about who he becomes, you would never in a million years root for this guy.
Sure.
But you feel so bad for him. He's just he's so desperate. It's like worse than going for a loan shark. He's going for a role in a small crime. Again, a small crime. He's just directing guys. That's all he's doing. He's not hurting anyone. But it's just these. Yeah, you feel so bad for him. And also, I love the Red Hood thing. I love the mythology of the Red Hood. The fact that guys who are either the idea is what they're saying here. I love how much of a lie this is to them. Tiki, is that the Red Hood guy is the most important guy of the crew? No, it's not. It's like he's the fall guy. It's like all the attention's going to, while you guys actually get away with the loot. That's the real reason.
Of course.
But the mythology of you never know who's under the Red Hood, which again was it really explored in Scott Snyder's 0 Year story, by the way.
And it was one of the better adaptations of a comic idea we've seen in Gotham.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Again, it's all harkening back to this one, folks.
Right.
Again, I love he's looking into kind of the pool of liquid there, and of course it's we cut to a puddle, but also it's like hinting at
Yes.
the vat of acid too.
Good transition. Good transition.
Again, there are really excellent transitions between you. Basically, you get a sense of where Joker's mind's going during this movie with these flashbacks.
Oh God! Look at
Yeah.
the animation on Joker's eyes in this movie is incredible.
Oh yeah. And this scene too, again, and you notice her neck is more stationary in this version, but I think it's more sad. But the fact, again, we don't know how deep that paralysis is initially. Of course, we know we the audience know exactly how the paralysis is. She'll never be able to walk again. But
Of course.
the fact that her neck's braced like that is even more sad. But again, right, I love this was an ad for the movie ticket that was perfectly valid. Again, showing the horrible realization, oh my God, she's never going to walk again. We didn't have that in the book, but this, oh God, it's so sad. Oh God! And again, Bullock just didn't have anything to say in the scene. The fact that he has any words of dialogue in this is them implying that some Joker did bad stuff to her here, or he's saying she found her in a state of undress, which is directly hinting.
Yeah, right.
So again, I think they're leading us, whether people buy into that or not. That's what this movie is kind of leading us down the rabbit hole of thinking. Again, it's left ambiguous enough, but still there are hints here and there that Joker did something even worse to her.
I like how they don't full on explicitly come out and say exactly what the Joker did.
Yeah,
but it's almost more horrifying leaving it to your imagination, like how far he might have actually went.
Because I would also imagine you probably batted her around a little bit too. It's like you threw her around the room to get her all those positions in the photographs. I mean, it's got to be more violent than that. I mean, imagine. I mean, regardless of the point, she's in various twisted positions, so I would imagine something happened in between taking the pictures. Whether she's trying to get away or something. Anyways, I love the horror is conveyed in the scene like it is in the comic. Though,
oh, absolutely.
And I love the little detail, like her makeup and everything's off, like the eyebrows somehow look a little off, like all the little details like that really make her look at her worse here. And it's just what the scene calls for.
Yeah, I mean, folks, I really do. There's very, very little that I have wrong with this whole section of the movie. The Killing Joke section itself is fantastic for the most part.
These guys, I'm still amazed they made it into this film. These guys always creep me out from the book. Like there are some excellent statues of the Joker with the camera and everything at the carnival, but I can't buy them because they have these the creepy little people gags.
Oh God!
They have the creepy little people on. It's too creepy for me. I can't get that. Seriously, these guys really weird me out. And again, we have Ray Wise and Commissioner Gordon here. I want to point out Ray Wise was a great casting choice for this. Unfortunately, again, this stuff that was a missed opportunity. Probably, I would have liked to get to know him a little more. I wish like Gordon and Barbara were showcased in that opening. They had there to make it more relevant. Again,
yeah, I'm honestly surprised Gordon barely got a scene in that opening prologue with Batgirl at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we really show Gordon. A lot hinges on Gordon's shoulders in this film. I would have loved the opportunity to be taken to showcase him a little more too, because it all hinges on his shoulders. This film,
right.
And again, you feel so bad, folks. If you've never felt bad for Jim Gordon in the story, you're going to feel really bad for him.
This is like absolutely the Jim Gordon's like the 1,000 trials of Jim Gordon. This is him at his absolute lowest for sure.
Now, let me mention this. This I caught when I was watching this film. Never again. It's been a while since I read the book, so this might be why it's really kind of come to me in this film here. But I love this. That what Mark Hamill does here is so brilliant that in delivering these lines, that Joker's speech here, Tiki, it illustrates three things. It illustrates Joker's thoughts on memory and sanity. It shows what he's trying to show Batman. It foreshadows that. But here's the most impressive part. Every single thing he says in this speech, Tiki, it all hints at the horrible stuff he intends to subject Jim Gordon to. Like he says, the train, and he puts him on like a little train. He's doing all sorts of little things here that he's going to literally showcase to him in the ride.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Every little thing he says is hinting. It's like hinting at the punchline. It's terrifying how everything is like a little clue.
Which is, of course, one of the best things about the graphic novel. Is the graphic novel front to back is one long joke, and it's brilliant in that regard.
Oh yeah, and again, it's like locking the doors. All the stuff he's saying is a great clue as to what's to follow. And again, also provides great transitions to our flashbacks here.
Absolutely.
And he's talking about facing a memory you never wanted to face, and then we face the memory that the one bad day. This is the beginning of the one bad day right now.
Yes. And this was a shock for me when I was reading the comic. Like, I remember this just hitting me in the gut when I was reading the comic.
And again, it's such a great subversion, too, when you invest so much time in this version, then you find out, oh my god, it's multiple choice. None of that might be true.
Exactly.
But oh yeah, right here, the news. And I like the tension here they added there, like the guy might pull out the gun and kind of shoot him there, because I love just, I think what sell that, I might be a little against that until I heard just the genuineness and just the genuine shock of Mark Hamill's pre-Joker here, of like, it's like there was an accident. Again, it sounds so realistically, sad and grief-stricken. Oh my god!
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, folks. I keep saying the same thing over again. I'm so impressed by how good he was in this role.
Hamill pretty much completely disappears into another person when he's playing this character. I think.
And again, that person is Mark Hamill, essentially.
Yeah, right.
It's definitely Mark Hamill's voice, just not doing the Joker. But it's like his acting comes through on that.
Absolutely.
He rarely gets a chance to play anyone other than the Joker or Luke Skywalker. Rarely. I mean, aside from just a few. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say rarely, but I mean aside from like any notable characters. Aside from these guys. Even though technically he still is the Joker, so I just forget my point. That just makes no sense.
He had a voice on Gravity Falls, actually.
I mean, yeah, forget my point, folks. He's done voices in a lot of things, but I mean, it's something like really meaty, I guess. Like,
no, I hear you.
But yeah, like a million to one shot, and here, how painful is that to you? She died on like basically a joke in itself that she was testing a baby bottle here, and ended up killing her and the baby in the process by like a little electrical shortage killed her.
Right.
And again, he wants out of it. He's doing the responsible thing. You're like, no, guys, I can't do this. I mean, what's the point anymore? His conscience is now coming back to him, but he can't get out of it. Again, it's the crime of the city. It's swelling him up. He cannot escape it. And again, it's something that turns him into the Joker, and turns Batman into Batman. It's astounding. Again, it's such a well-orchestrated tapestry of stuff going on. Again, a lot of that is due to the book, of course, but I mean, it's really well conveyed.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's like I'm almost kind of struggling for things to say, because this is a very, very good scene, a lot of tension, a lot of mixed emotions going on. But like I said, it's a very much kind of like Zack Snyder special of just doing a really good job of adapting what's already on the page. Not saying that's a bad thing at all, just saying it's, I'm already like very familiar with all the pathos that this scene offers.
And again, the one bad day starts on the most horrifying note. Your pregnant wife is dead of a joke,
right?
Of an electrical shortage. And I love this. This is good additions they have right here. Like, I love this. Like him interrogating, we get a few Nolan nods in there. Like,
they absolutely do some Nolan nods with the "where is he" thing for sure.
But again, hearing Kevin Conroy say it again, this is like genuine intimidating Kevin Conroy, which is again sometimes it will be sparse. Just hear him. The interrogation tags are great too. I'm going to count to 10. 1, 9. You get to see his fangs in the animation too, like not his fangs, but it's kind of fangish teeth.
Sure.
Like we all have, the point.
Yeah, of course.
Again, really good stuff here. And this scene, now, Tiki, this is a great reference to The Dark Knight, actually. Is that this scene was like a panel in the book. Basically, Batman interrogating, finding leads are all one panel in the book, like him like putting the guy against the wall, him visiting.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And what they do here is like this is directly, it's referencing a reference. They referenced him visiting. This is Sal Maroni. It's him visiting Sal Maroni from The Dark Knight in The Killing Joke, which was from The Killing Joke.
Exactly.
And they homage that here by basically it's the same thing from The Dark Knight, where Sal Maroni says, you think we're more afraid of him than you, and essentially that's being communicated here. And I love I love the criminal element in this movie, Tiki, where it's like the crime bosses, they acknowledge fully to the Batman, look, we're scared of you, but we're terrified of him. He's being very nonchalant. You beat up my guys, just don't beat me up, and I'll tell you what you want. Right. What that nonchalance. A little gripe, though. I hate that they never address the mob bosses by name, though. It does bug me.
Yeah, I think that's a nitpick, but you're right. It would be nice just to kind of kangaroo court, very creepy.
I believe this is an addition for the movie, I'm pretty sure.
I'd have to
go
back and look.
I'm pretty sure I looked through the book, I didn't see this.
Okay.
But again, this is
the idea, though.
Yeah, this is a good addition here, folks. I mean, this bit right here is like this whole. It's more. I mean, the book thing you might read as a little on the nose, but what it's doing here is it's kind of. It's seeding the things in it for Gordon to say that whole we're doing this by the book lines in his mind. And here's the great thing, folks. Anyone who's kind of against saying him throwing the book at him it's a silly thing. Here's my argument. The argument is later on when he tells Batman bring him in by the book, that's showing this thing did impact him. So later on, after he's so shell shocked, you think Jim Gordon came away unscathed. No, he actually is very much scathed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Batman, like Batman said, he'll be fine in the long run. Gordon's a strong man, and he'll pull out of it. But yeah, I mean, a part of Gordon was definitely lost in this event for
And
sure.
I think the book thing is like a subtle nod to that of like, well, no, Gordon's saying buy the book because of this scene. Like he's real deeply affected by this whole carousel ride here.
Uh-huh.
And again, I love how cruel it is. It's like again, like throw the book and basically the Joker's punchline to Gordon in this scene here is like the whole I actually talk about Batman. It's so cruel to me.
Right, right.
And the reaction, I love the animation on Gordon's face of just like he feels so bad, like oh my god, because I think what they're communicating in this film is that he's at a place where he's just gotten familiar. He's just gotten accustomed to working with Batman. He's still like he wants him to toe the line. Again, you saw him like chastising him for like, threatening the Joker in Arkham when he thought it was the Joker.
Of course.
So Gordon is like in a place where he's just coming around, and now Joker's throwing in his face. Well, no, you're working with someone. It's very against the law. So you throwing the book at me is so hypocritical. And this scene here, I mean, it was one panel in the book during that interrogation thing. I kind of like the prostitute conversation, but I'm not sure how I feel about the implication that Joker visits prostitutes. I'm not sure.
I mean, the way I see it is that the Joker has always been a 1,000% asexual character outside of Harley Quinn.
And speaking of that, T, I think you can read the scene one of two ways. Initially, how I read it as like a vague Harley Quinn reference, which it's there. It's not bad. It's just basically a vague Harley Quinn reference. Maybe he's found a new girlfriend. Okay, maybe it's Harley Quinn, or again the Barbara theory.
Right, right.
Oh boy, here's the best sequence in the whole film, folks.
And Mark Hamill, just give it up right now. Just give it up. I mean, seriously, he just kills it. Absolutely, just the microphone is just wailing and crying tears as Mark Hamill delivers the song right here.
So, Tiki, this might sound embarrassing, but in the book, I never interpreted this as a song. I had no idea it was a song. Apparently it was, because there was no little music notes on the side. But
no, you're right. You're right.
I just thought it was like him just saying with the Joker-like delivery, "I go loony," but no, oh my god, he's singing it. And again, Mark Hamill sang in the Arkham game, so it was like a simple put A and B together here. Of course, he's going to sing the song. He's going to do a great job, and they make it. So, and here's the crazy thing, again, I've told you before when we did our pitches with Batman, the best way you can write the Joker is where you laugh and you're entertained, but you hate yourself for it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
This scene is so darn catchy. The song is still stuck in my head. I go loony like a lightning battered.
Look at Gordon's face. Look how horrified he is. Look at how horrified, like, one of your definitive childhood heroes is in this scene. The ending, the Joker is being entertaining is all hell.
I've never been, since a very specific episode of Batman series, never have I felt so worried and on the edge of my seat for Gordon than the end of the sequence.
Of course. I mean, we know how it's going to turn out, but yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, it wasn't, don't get me wrong, he was horrified in the book at what's about to happen, but my God, the song's so catchy, and the ending's also is the best part too, in addition to the horrifying nature of it, which makes you even more horrified, but it's like such a catchy ending.
And I also think the animation of the background dancers is priceless.
Oh God, it's happening here.
Oh.
And they capture the horror on his face in that one moment there. It's directly from the book.
Okay.
They captured it right there. But hold off on it, Tigger. So I want to mention right here when he's saying Barbara like that's this ending Barbara. It'll haunt my nightmares. Ray Wise screaming, Barbara!
Yeah.
Oh God, it still gives me chills. I kid you not. Go on.
So Dragon and I both kind of have this conundrum that we're in where we think that perhaps the picture should have been just a little bit more visceral, and we're not saying that because, like, oh, we want to see Barbara Gordon even more pain. No, of course not. We're saying that because this is the definitive, like, transformative moment for Gordon. And I don't know, Dragons, like, honestly, I do think it's very effective the way they did it. I really can't take anything away from the film.
I'm sorry, I'm just caught up in the Gordon thing right now. Oh, God.
Just really quick, the only thing I have to say is, like, the one thing is I wish this movie's R rating wasn't hyped up so much, considering I think most of this stuff they could have gotten away with PG-13.
Honestly, because you have like even the obligatory kind of like the F this, F that. They don't actually say the F-bomb, they mention F the letter.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, again, it's like I kind of feel like Assault on Arkham was a much more R-rated throughout, like you just had like really visceral violence throughout Assault on Arkham.
I tell you, the shell shock Gordon that was on the ground just a moment.
Oh,
ago,
absolutely.
Just to me,
Absolutely.
that's I was so horrified by that. In addition to the whole Barbara, it's like, oh god, he's so traumatized. but yeah, basically, there's a certain image in the book in that scene. It seems like if you're gonna hint at some of the horrible stuff of Barbara in this thing, that would definitely solidify some of that. But you need it just to accentuate the horrifying point. You need some. You need some of the nudity in this thing. They obscure Gordon in shots, which I can't really blame them for. Again, we're in a weird place with it, folks. It's like if you're gonna go R, you should push it to the brink. You should do everything from the book because now you can finally get away with it.
Yeah, that was my whole thing with it, because when it did, I mean, look, I'll admit when I rewatched it, like after the first time I viewed it, the scene did hit me a little bit more. But my first viewing, and I guess maybe just because my first viewing, I was like, "Oh, I wonder how they're going to do this from the comics. I wonder how they're going to do this from the comics."
Yeah, same thing. I was just out of curiosity if they're going to have it in there or not. I guess since they weren't, because I remember they said going in the making of, they mentioned.
My voice sounds echoey. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they mentioned the making of, like, they were just going to make it, however it turned out PG-13 or R, it was going to be whatever it was. So maybe they didn't intend to make it. They didn't intend to make it R, so just there was a great.
I honestly think that's a bigger fault on the marketing than it is anything else. Because, like I said, I think the marketing just hyped up the R rating a little too much.
And I know this moment just passed. I just want to address how much I love it. I love the kind of the dynamic you had before things go south with the criminals here, just saying maybe we should switch occupations. Maybe say you get into my line, because he keeps laughing at Joker keeps laughing at the jokes, like pre-Joker.
Right.
The crime boss keeps making says, "Oh, that's a good one. Maybe you should stop getting in line of work, and I should get in your line of work." Sorry, I just want to mention this again. Things are going south here. The bad day is culminating to its laughy end here.
Oh yeah.
And again, he says,
I love how Batman seems like a fucking horror movie monster in this scene.
Yes, and also anyone who's griping about the horns, I mean, the horns were in the comic all the way through, okay? So don't complain about the
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the horns at all. I didn't even know anyone had a problem with the horns.
Everyone complain about the horns. It's in the comic, folks. It's like in the scene coming up, it's in there, and even in the horns are protruding. That's how it was in the original. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell.
And I think enunciating the horns just makes Batman even more intimidating.
It's because he was in the original, in the first appearance, he had horns like that. That's why.
I don't mind it at all.
Anyway,
like in the slightest.
Now I love this.
It makes for a great silhouette right there.
There's a very slight alteration. This I think was a smart call.
Okay.
So that, here he slips like he does under the Red Hood. Now, when he slips like that, it's great because you see Batman saying, like in the comic, Red Hood, we meet again. So in some way, that puts blame on Batman for intimidating the guy, and the fact that Batman did not, the fact that the Red Hood is a character, Batman does not know who is under the mask. The fact that Batman does not know who the Joker is.
Oh God!
And again, because of that, he in some way, because he didn't know fully his enemy, he created his greatest enemy. He created the Joker because he didn't fully understand him.
So let's just bask in the glorious Mark Hamill transformation that's about to take place. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh jeez, it's like the laugh to end all laughs. It lived up to my expectations for the laugh.
Well,
for sure.
It was great, but I know what the best Joker laugh is, though. It's not this.
I'm not saying it's the best Joker laugh ever. I'm just saying, like, that's one of the more famous Joker laughs in the comic history.
That's the most famous Joker laugh. I'll give you, it's the most famous one.
Right, and I think they did it justice.
Oh,
Definitely did it justice.
This is my Batmobile.
Oh God.
I'm sorry. I love this Batmobile. So this is the original. See, now, the thematic thing here, folks. Now we're going back even further in the animated series to the beginning now. It's the animated series card, the first one, the 1992 version, and importantly, we're back to kind of the animated series formula. We're in an amusement park, Batman looking for the Joker, very much like season 1 Batman animated series.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm loving that, and again, seemingly doesn't seem like too violent and scary, because just like pop up of the Joker as a cardboard thing and merry-go-round, but then it's going to get more violent, and more scary. Like knife throwing and
I think the CGI on this is a very minor nitpick. I think the CGI on the merry-go-round looks a little out of place.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Very minor nitpick. Very minor.
Yeah, like people complain a lot about the CG vehicles. I think they're integrated well enough. The merry-go-round is noticeable though.
I think the merry-go-round's probably the worst CG integration. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
So basically, there's some added action to this from the comic, but it was again good action. It's good ads here. So again, I love these little horrific twists here. Like I didn't notice this. I love how the fat lady, she gets stabbed by the knives. That's
Right.
so creepy.
It's not Batman killing her directly, but yeah.
However, I do have a nitpick. I'll get it out of the way now. I hate that when he's fighting the little people, they're dressed like Batman. It bothers me that he accidentally throws one down the spike pit.
Yeah.
And, I mean, look. To be fair, again, I'm saying it's another thing to chalk up against this movie, but let's be fair. I mean, these things look barely human. All right, he doesn't know. Okay, I mean, they're barely human. He's fighting a wolf guy right now. Okay, give him some benefit of the doubt, all right? Okay, I'm gonna give him a pass on that one because I mean he's a little guy and you hear him hit the spike pit. It's a little gripe, I know, but still,
all right.
Okay, here we go, folks. Oh boy. And this, to me, again, calls back a great moment from No Man's Land to it all stems from this book, folks. When Jim Gordon at his absolute worst is like Batman's consoling a emotionally shattered Jim Gordon. And oh my God, it's a powerful moment.
Oh, I love how effective the acid is.
Oh yeah, and I love he carries that base.
Yeah, that's very practical.
Nice. And again, I love that he doesn't go after Joker. He helps Jim Gordon out first of all. But yeah, there's this moment here, Jim. And I love this moment here. It completely caught me off guard, just saying, "Let it come, Jim. Let it come." Just saying,
absolutely.
Look at that. That's a beautiful image.
It's Batman just completely shedding his, his tough persona. You know what I mean? It's Batman just being a genuine friend at that moment.
Yeah, it covers him up, all the stuff from the
right, for sure.
And unfortunately, there's something that's pointed out here, like the police are behind me, which would have made the ending pop a little more. Just if the cops were coming at the end, like. Mm-hmm. But also I love this too. Anyway, it's kind of a subtle joke here. Buy the book.
Yeah.
Literally buy the book, like buy the Killing Joke book.
Yeah. Oh God. Buy the book. God.
Yeah. But seriously though, importantly though, I love that Gordon, he goes through all this and he's still sticking to his morals. That's something that always
absolutely.
The book is that Jim Gordon is as strong a moral code as Batman does, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's him. He still hasn't broken. And I love how one of my favorite moments of this movie is going to be when Batman confirms that with the Joker. I love that moment. We're going to get there. So again, now we're getting the famous "It's all it takes is one bad day" speech. Oh my God, what a famous. This is what everyone was waiting to hear Mark Hamill do, because people have done so many impressions of their Mark Hamill Jokers reading the speech.
This is Mark Hamill's to be or not to be speech.
Oh yeah. And that right here when he's about to throw the little guys, but it kind of bugs me.
Yeah,
it's like right. I wish there was some way around it, but it's not. He tosses him right in the pit. Darn it!
Yeah, he does just toss it right in.
But again, they're really monstrous looking. I want to give him a pass. He doesn't drive through people like Batman v Superman. Come on.
Oh God.
Okay, here now. This is a change in set because originally just like
it was totally.
And I love the shot in the Hall of Mirrors, and they kind of homage that at the end of this scene here. But I love the setting though. I love this set. This is a great change for the book though. From the book, is that it's the Killing Joke set. It's the Killing Joke story. It's the
yes.
It's upside down. Though his worldview is upside down. He even has the first thing he hits him with is the lobster prawn things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was something that kind of made my jaw drop the first time I saw this.
Oh, yeah,
it's a great change for sure.
And I love again. The thing about this, when he steps in there, then he says, then he brings out the multiple choice line. So
also, just really quick, seeing the lobsters in full color now is kind of like that symbolism gone full circle.
Yeah, and I love this. I'm convinced this is a J. Oliver special because he did, of course, the fight in the Dark Knight Returns film.
Right.
And you're like, I love the little brutal touches, like when he's kicking him in the head and you see kind of the doubled vision. I love that. And again, the score is it complements the scene. So again, this very complimentary score versus kind of your thematic theme scores. But, oh, God, it's like, why can't you see the funny side? Why aren't you laughing? But, oh, God, this is all brilliant stuff. Again, the fact that when he brings out the multiple choice line, then his whole world is turned upside down, saying you can't trust anything you saw, folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right
as
here,
definitive and great of an origin story for the Joker as it is totally unreliable.
And right here, when he's right here, where it says, "I spoke with Commissioner Gordon before I came."
Yes. Yes.
He told me he wanted this done by the book. I'm not doing it justice. You know what that means. Despite all your sick, cruel, vicious little games, he's as sane as he ever was. And I gotta tell you, Tiki, is hearing Kevin Conroy say Commissioner Gordon after so many years.
That was definitely Conroy's shining moment of voice acting in this, I think. That little line right there.
I mean, usually he just calls him Jim and everything. Just hear him say fully Commissioner Gordon. It's like,
absolutely.
And it's such and that's the line, that's the thing they homage of him jumping through the glass right there. It's kind of bugs me they didn't have it in its full glory because I love that shot.
Yeah, I actually have that full shot kind of framed on my wall, actually.
Okay, now, T, I got to go off on this, and this is the scene I was actually tearing up at this scene here. This is the scene that these two actors have been training for 24 years, and they give it such a genuine, honest conversation.
Yes.
And right off the bat, it's a subversion of it's like Joker breaking the fourth wall in a way, saying, he's gonna beat the crap out of him. He's gonna get a standing ovation by the fans who's reading this essentially. I love this. Oh my god, this is the best. I
don't like it as much as you.
Batman Mask of the
Put that out there.
Let me mention this. Batman Mask of the Phantasm was the peak of their voice prowess, and this is just like this is the 24 years later. This is them coming back to do something really wonderful, and this is the moment you've never seen between. It's like the years of experience these two have been in each other's lives. Batman Mark Hamill have been doing Joker and Batman longer than anyone, and the fact that it has that extra meaning to it. But again, it's Batman reaching out, and it adds so much layers. Like you and I have been doing this for a long time. Let's just stop this, and just the most genuine thing you've ever seen the Joker just look at him and not mock him. It's just saying, "I'm sorry, but no." And just hearing that come through the genuine, iconic. These are the two voices I hear in my head when me and a lot of people here when we read
of course.
any Batman. Is these two characters. There's one again. It's probably the best scene in the entire book too, of course. But it's so well communicated. I was so choked up and caught off guard by how much meaning this had for me. I was watching this.
And just to clarify, Dragon, you're absolutely right about all that, and it's a great performance, and the context is definitely there. My one nitpick is with the actual way they chose to end this sequence.
Yeah, which we'll get to in the second. Yeah. Again, as he's telling the joke, I love the lightning. I think if they didn't do the police cars, they should have done the lightning in that moment.
Mm.
Regardless, though, I love it's like. It's that one moment that passes, that one moment of compassion from Batman to Joker, and they stay and mock each other. It's like a genuine moment there. Anyways, I'm sorry, but now remember, folks, the importance of this joke is the acknowledgement of Batman's insanity. So if Batman kills the Joker, there's a big controversy, a question of they left it ambiguous like they should have, which is good. If he kills the Joker, that means the whole ball of wax changes potentially for the better. If he does not kill the Joker, that means it's the same old thing over and over again, which it's ad infinitum. It's the chaos. It's the chaos thing. They're both acknowledged. We're never going to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with this laugh, though, it's basically them. This laugh can be read as two things, of course. Whether he's killing him as Batman's last laugh of killing the Joker, or again, it's just them realizing Batman taking this one moment. You know what? I'm not beating him up, so this time I'm going to give him a little bit of what he wants here, just as a little acknowledgement.
And Dragon, I'm sorry, I hate to admit it, but when it faded to black the first time I saw it, I was like, come on!
I mean, all I was missing, the police lights kind of made it really cool with the line, but importantly, it's the police lights they would have obscured kind of the silence on the other end, which would have been really cool.
Right. I mean, all I want is that lightning flash shot. That's all I want. That's such an iconic, ambiguous way to end it.
I mean, either that or, again, just hearing the police sirens would have at least hid the fact that Joker wasn't laughing, which I think would have been cool.
Right. Okay, but I love, by the way, how the soundtrack over the credits is just the rain. That's a very tasteful choice.
I know, it's so creepy. And that's and again, in the end, however the turn is, I love that in some way the Joker wins. Again, if he doesn't, if it's an acknowledgement that they accept that this is their lives, the joke of their lives. They're never going to. I'm sorry, with mid credits.
Mm-hmm.
So again,
I didn't even realize this was here.
So by the way, with this scene, this is put on there. Some people are complaining about this. I say, look, it's a hopeful Oracle end. She's again had that Batgirl stuff not been put in there, this would have been a lot more impactful. He wants something good to happen to Barbara. Is that she can't be Batgirl anymore, but she is still very valuable as Oracle.
Yeah, I think it's a little on the nose though, especially considering just how fast she's progressing to Oracle.
Well, yeah, time has passed. We can assume time has passed.
I guess so, but we don't know how much time has passed. I think it would have been a little better if we would have seen 6 months later or something like that.
Okay, I'll give you that. But the point is, I like that it ended on kind of a happy note after all this darkness.
Yeah, they do, but I can also see why fans are kind of iffy about that.
Well, I mean, they're more iffy because it doesn't align with we don't like her as much because of the Batgirl stuff.
No, not only that, but I also kind of feel like it undercuts the impact of the Joker and Batman ending in a way.
Well, it would have been better if they saved it to the very end, because then it's like again separates
Then
itself
it's like
more
a
from
definitive post credits, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. Is like it's something without the actual movie itself, so it's in the same boat as that. Just the end credits was separated more, which I think would please people a little more. Anyway, but again, I love just with the end because it's credits against one, but at the end it's a smidge more. I
Okay.
love that in the end, Joker wins regardless of what the realization is and whether he's dead or not. So, it's like Batman gets the last laugh and they kill the Joker. But again, Joker, all he ever wanted was to hear Batman laugh, and here it's like this little moment of like little almost like a peace treaty of some sort, like a quick little, not a peace treaty, but like kind of a quick little, a ceasefire of some kind between their war with each other. It's like, that one moment of like them acting out of character, of like him genuinely saying, "Look, I can help you." He no, it's too late for me. With all the thanks in the world, they kind of share a laugh together over a joke, and that joke acknowledging that yes, we're both crazy and we're gonna be doing this forever.
Sure, sure.
But again, it's like Joker wins in the end, both endings, but Batman doesn't give up. That's what it all boils down to. Joker can win. That's horrifying. We live in a world where bad things like that can happen. But again, Batman won't give up, though. He's going to keep doing what he's doing. And
Yeah, so I mean, overall, I definitely think that most of the adaptation, like a huge, huge majority of the actual adaptation, is flawless. It's flawless. It's just what I was hoping for. And you're absolutely right, Dragon. I love how they kind of sprinkled in the Batman the Animated Series homages, especially considering this is kind of like the crescendo of Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy playing the Joker and their relationship, their working relationship. And yeah, again, Dragon using it's like the vibe of those first 15 minutes of the Batgirl thing is like very hopeful, and then it just deflates in that last 15 minutes. It just makes the product as a whole a very shaky experience to go through. So that's why I really do choose to just not endure the Batgirl stuff at all. I really choose to just, fast forward to the start of the actual Killing Joke adaptation, because it's not that what we get in the Batgirl stuff is bad in the first 15 minutes. I just think it's messy as hell.
But again, folks, I just got nothing but. Again, I wish it was a little more perfect. Again, if they just could have gotten that Batgirl. I'm with you, Dave. Again, I think the universe that Batgirl stuff it is a majority of that Batgirl stuff. It had potential, but it just didn't pan. They should have stuck with the original 15-minute plan. That would have made things a lot better.
Yeah,
Either that or just separate. Either that or do a short.
I think a short would have pleased everyone. It would have pleased the people who were kind of saying that Barbara Gordon in the original comic book doesn't get much development, which is a very, very, very legitimate criticism of the Killing Joke.
I'm just saying, do a Cliff Notes version of Batgirl Year One or a Batgirl short that coalesces with this one. Again, shows you some Batgirl, but just like even if it's just like a few Batgirl shorts, and then this.
All right. Well, I've already said pretty much all my final thoughts, Dragon. So you got anything else before we sign off?
Yes. Let me just let me praise the movie one last time. I gotta say what it does get right, as we've had our stay on all the Batgirl stuff, but again, it's nothing that can fix in the world. Unfortunately, we're all folks. As much as we like to change things, we can't. We as much as we like the hope against hopes that things could change and like we could just have things perfectly the way we want. The fact is, the world doesn't work like that. We have to. We're stuck with the byproduct we have here. But you got to take what you enjoy from it. While listing my favorite DC animated original films, let's just say my number 5 spot is between Superman versus the Elite and this, because what I love in this, I adore in this. I really do. And this film hits me in a really personal place with the animated series. It does. But at the same time, though, again, that Batgirl stuff does hesitate makes me hesitate in putting it at the number 5 spot officially. Because also that would make all my picks Batman related picks too. By the way.
Oh God.
But regardless, and that's fair. I mean, I love Batman, but still, as much as I enjoyed the Killing Joke segments, and I thought they're really well told, and the animation style, it worried me in the trailer, but I think in context it works a lot well, because basically you're so absorbed in the excellent performances, you don't care about how it looks a little exaggerated, looks a little cartoony, and again. I think people might get a lot more enjoyment out of this on a rewatch if they kind of factor in, if they haven't factored in already. Again, it is kind of like a subtle kind of closing chapter to the animated series.
And you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, man, because with that context in mind, I think this third watch, even without knowing much of the dialogue, because I've seen it twice already, this third watch really was the most fulfilling in terms of like, yeah, it really is kind of like a send-off gift to the animated series in a way.
And again, it's like kind of I will feed into this. Some people have said, Kim Connery and Mark Hamill, they should stop coming back for Batman and the Joker. I mean, they were definitive. I would say this actually should have been their send-off piece. They really should have been. Because now they're coming back for other things. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm born. The fact that we're getting Kevin Conner and Mark Hamill, I love those guys, and I'm going to still stick around. I'm not going to complain about having those guys. I'm going to say that this actually would have been the retirement.
If there was one time to definitively do it, it would have been now. Yeah.
Yeah, like now it's like anytime after this, it's not going to have this. It's like basically this is their Seinfeld kind of like, the going.
Dare I make a Toy Story 4 comparison right now?
No, don't. Don't. I'm trying to make something meaningful as I'm going.
I'm sorry.
My point is. But again, though, folks, I mean, I call on the first because I am a obsessed animated series fan. It's caught from the get-go, and because of that, it just always hit me at my core. It's like, oh my god, it's so familiar territory. And then just hearing Mark Hamill speak for the first time in this film, like just he eases into the Joker and he just reads it off like poetry. And then the instant surprise, like then we go to the flashback. Oh my god, he's giving. It's not just like. Again, I know I should have expected this, but oh my god, he's even given like the obvious pre-Joker performance, which he would sound like Mark Hamill, and it's not just Mark Hamill, it's Mark Hamill care about, and they're getting the two super iconic Batman scenes that I love from the book there, delivered by Kevin Conroy, and it's Kevin Conroy on his A game. It's not him just doing the casual Batman thing he does. It's him actually acting like the whole like we've done begging a very introspective kind of like a reflective Batman saying, look. Let's not do this. Let's end this. Anyway, so again, just the ending will always stick with me as kind of like the beautiful send off. Like to me, again, I haven't really felt I know I keep repeating myself. Last thing I'm going to repeat, I swear. Bad Mask of the Phantasm is them at the peak of their careers. This is the performance they've been waiting 24 years to give, and it reads so well. It's so amazing just for that reason alone. Aside from these wonderful moments of like these excellent flashbacks as well, orchestrated story with the Killing Joke, and of course the I Go Looney song. It's so darn catchy and horrifying at the end there, Jim Gordon. It's a performance between two excellent actors that have defined my childhood, my feelings on superheroes and everything, and it's like the perfect ending for them.
Okay,
perfect ending for them, and I adore it.
Well said, well said. And on that note, folks, we hope you enjoyed this conversation, and we will be back on Friday to deliver another Joker-related review. We're going to be talking about the Killing Joke movie that is finally out in theaters tomorrow. We will be catching that at a preview screening, a Thursday night screening tomorrow, and then giving you our full-blown spoiler.
Wait, hold on. You said the Killing Joke movie.
The Suicide Squad movie.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
We just watched the Killing Joke movie.
I know. Oh, jeez, folks. I'm sorry.
He goes loony.
I do.
Like a lightning-battered bug.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I question my own sanity.
Don't get even. Get mine.
I digress. We'll be back on Friday with a review of Suicide Squad, which we're very excited about. And on that note, folks, stay loony and have a good night.